Now, come tomorrow, there'll be a new sheriff in town in our nation's capital. California Congressman Darrell Issa is about to become the chair of the House Committee on Oversight and Government Reform. Now, in his new role, Issa will be the GOP's point man for investigating the Obama administration. And if I were the anointed one, I'd be worried. Listen to what Congressman Issa had to say about the president back in October.
It's going to be acrimonious, there's no question. He has been one of the most corrupt presidents in modern times.
Now, this past Sunday, Issa revised his comments, but only slightly. Take a look.
In saying that this is one of the most corrupt administrations, which is what I meant to say there, when you hand out $1 trillion in TARP just before this president came in, most of it unspent, $1 trillion nearly in stimulus that this president asked for, plus this huge expansion in health care and government, it has a corrupting effect. When I look at waste, fraud, and abuse in the bureaucracy and in the government, this is like steroids to pump up the muscles of waste.
All right, so what investigations will the congressman launch? Well, in recent days, an outline of potential hearings was leaked online. Now, they include a look into Attorney General Eric Holder's dismal handling of the WikiLeaks situation. Also mentioned were investigations into FDA recalls, Fannie Mae corruption, and also corruption in Afghanistan. And here now to tell us exactly what his plans are in the coming months, the man himself, California Congressman Darrell Issa. Congressman, welcome back.
Thanks for having me back, Sean, and thanks for being with me at such an exciting time for America to finally take back our government.
Well, I agree with that. All right, well, let's go back to the Rush Limbaugh show where you said it's going to be acrimonious. There's no question he's one of the most corrupt presidents in modern times. What did you mean by that?
Well, I meant it's one of the most corrupt presidencies. This president has used trillions of dollars as walking around money to take care of pet projects and pet organizations. One good example is when he used the TARP money to bail out not the bondholders of General Motors or Chrysler, but in fact the unions. This was a misuse of funds that were given to President Bush specifically to help with a financial crisis. It was never intended to bail out labor unions.
Yeah, all right, let me go. You were on Fox News Sunday this weekend with Chris Wallace, and I was watching, you know, the comments you made. I didn't understand something, and I hope you can clarify it for us tonight. And that is, because you have subpoena power in this position. And obviously, I would agree with the Democratic House and Senate, there was not much oversight in the first 2 years of the administration. But you talked about that they should hire more accountants, not lawyers. What did you mean by that?
Sean, what I mean by that is if the administration wants to actually work with the Republican Congress, it's going to be about jobs in the economy. It's going to be about doing the calculation of what reducing regulatory excesses does for the ability to create jobs and what excess spending and redundant programs can be eliminated. The fact is these are accounting functions. They don't need lawyers to say, I won't answer that or be vague on the answer. They need to answer the question of why the American people have seen government grow while their paychecks have shrunk.
All right, let's go into some of the specifics, because you're going to have specific investigations, corruption in Afghanistan, WikiLeaks, for example, financial crisis, Freddie and Fannie. What specifically, Congressman, are you looking for in those cases?
Well, let's take it in reverse order. Freddie and Fannie, they just received each $1.3 billion from Countrywide, actually B of A now, but on behalf of Countrywide, for abuses that occurred when Countrywide had basically bribed, through their VIP program, they'd bribed huge amounts of people at Freddie and Fannie and on Capitol Hill to give them sweetheart ability to dump bad loans onto the American people. Well, as long as we continue to think that financial reform took care of this, we're not going to do what we need to do. We need to view the fact that the programs that led up to the crash came out of places like Countrywide, went through places like Freddie and Fannie, and they haven't yet been reformed. We have to shed a light on that. In the case of FDA, it's much simpler. Food and drug safety is something that Americans have taken for granted, while our studies in the last Congress, even under Democrats, have shown they're falling behind their ability to track clean, safe food and drugs, and we need to get that changed. They do a lot of reports. They ask for more jurisdiction. They don't actually guarantee that the spinach you receive is either safe or that they do a limited recall of only the affected spinach or other foods. Going further back, absolutely, we have an obligation to look at the stimulus, where there were some good things done in the way of tracking dollars, and where there were a lot of dollars that went to the wrong places. And those are some of the examples of what we're going to do. But we're going to be very different than my predecessor. I'm going to have 7 subcommittees, 7 subcommittee chairmen, and I'm going to make them do real fact-finding. You might have noticed that I invited people in the business community that have been previously vilified to give me their input. That's because I want to listen to everybody, but especially job creators. And my committee subcommittee chairmen are going to do the same thing. We're going to listen to the people who create wealth in America and figure out how we can create more of it for all of us.
Well, I liked your comments about government hyper-regulation and the impact on job creation. I thought that was a good line. USA Today had a cover story on you, and it says, Issa targets broken bureaucracy. As we go through this list, as we're doing here, I mean, is there any possibility that we, at the end of this process, could find laws have been broken, Congressman?
We certainly can find that organizations like the EPA have been shortcutting the process to do work, in some cases perhaps trying to get to cap and trade or cap and tax without allowing the law to be passed. That's an area where the overreach can be undone. Congress has an ability, even if we can't pass a new law, to petition the U.S. Supreme Court to overturn regulatory excesses. And we have the power of the purse string. We are not, I repeat, not under Speaker Boehner, going to be funding the excesses of this administration if they've broken the rules in getting there.
You know, one of the things that frustrates me is Freddie and Fannie. And, you know, I didn't like the countrywide mortgage sweetheart deal that Chris Dodd got, for example. I didn't like the fact that Franklin Raines, you know, made an exorbitant amount, tens of millions of dollars, and Jamie Gerlich all have political contacts in Washington, D.C. Are these people that you would target to come before your committee?
Well, we're going to start with Angela Mozilla. We're going to start with the kingpin and the people in Countrywide, because we want to know more about why they did it, who they did it. At the end of the day, we have to make sure that people understand that in the future, private enterprise cannot offer tens or hundreds of thousands of dollars in discounts to members of Congress or to their staff in order to get sweetheart deals. The ethics committees will probably deal if there's members or staff that have done wrong, or the U.S. attorneys, I hope. But it's very clear that what I need to do is make sure this doesn't happen again before the American people see their savings evaporate because of another financial meltdown.
Well, I'd like to see if laws are broken, Congressman, that people that broke them are held accountable, just like all of us would be held accountable. So,
well, and Sean, that's the reason I've said that if Eric Holder can't start doing his job, he's hurting the president, and he needs to stop hurting the president either by doing the right thing or by leaving.
All right. Good to see you, Congressman Issa. We'll be watching in the weeks and months to come. And coming up, David Letterman crosses the line. Are his attacks on Speaker-elect John Boehner, is it fair play or just not funny? Plus, on the fence about whether we should raise the debt ceiling or not, maybe conservatives should look back at some of the rare words of wisdom from the one and only President Obama.